Today I'm going to be showing you how I made my own front wheel spacers for the Hg-p407. This will also work for the Tamiya Bruiser. What you're going to need is just some scrap plastic. What I did was I actually went down, there's a plastics place here in Texas, it's called Regal Plastics, and they have bins outside for offcuts. Whenever they make something, they will just throw the rest of the sheet out basically in the trash, and you can go out there and get it for free, or you could actually go and buy this stuff. These are ABS sheets. It's textured on one side, decently thick, just ABS plastic. I'm not really sure what you would call it. I'm going to say that's probably 4mm, because when you stack it together and bond it together, maybe it's like a little over 4mm, because this is about 9. I'm going to call it 9mm, but probably 8 1/4 to be honest, because it almost fits in an 8mm wrench if you try to fit it in the opening. So what I did is, obviously you need to take your wheel adapter off. Trying to do this one-handed is fun, but I'll do it. Alright, take the nut off. You don't want to probably leave that bearing behind. And now we have our hub. And obviously, this material is not quite thick enough for the spacer. So what I did was I actually cut it into pieces that are big enough to make a spacer out of. And then I used a solvent, a plastic solvent, to bond them together. I stacked them together like this. This is 2 pieces that have been chemically bonded together. You can just glue it together with super glue or cyanoacrylate if that's what you want to call it. But these are bonded together, and you're going to want first to drill your center hole to where it pops on with a little bit of force. It's not just gonna fall off there. It just sits there. So what I did was I grabbed a bit from Harbor Freight. This is a step drill bit, and I took the center hole up to 11/16. So drill you an 11/16 hole in the middle of this plate. Alright, to start the center hole, I'm going to be using a 7/64 drill bit. This is also the same bit that I'm going to use for the bolt holes. Now I could change out this standard drill bit for the step bit and try to bring the hole diameter to the final size. All these plastic ribbons before they start melting. You could theoretically get this done in one pass if you had an 11/16 spade bit. Spade bits work really well for this application for some reason. They love boring through plastic. This can also easily be drilled out by hand, and just using a vise, but I decided to use the drill press just because it's cool. Alright, and we should have our final size. Lower this down just a little more. That is what we want. No slop, just fits right in. Now, what you're going to want to do is take a pick, and you could trace around the outside of it, just leaving little scratches Also get down in the 3 mounting holes, and then we can drill out the holes. It's going to be kind of hard to film this part, but you just hold down in a couple different places. Get the first hole. It already moved on me a little bit. Get the outer edge. Don't have to scratch terribly hard. Make sure to get the locating indentions. This plastic's really easy to scratch, so just a light gliding over the surface. These smaller bits like to grab sideways. I don't think I need the laser for this. I can see the markings pretty well. Alright, now we have all the holes to mount it to the truck. They should line up perfectly, and they do. Absolutely perfectly. I can see light through all of them. Now, what I want to do is you can just cut it where there aren't any locating marks. You can just cut it straight across. That's the easy way. But I want the locating marks, just so there's just a little less inclination to twist or anything. I just want it to be exactly where I put it. So I'm going to find a bit that's roughly this size. Doesn't matter if it's bigger or anything. It's just as long as there are these locating indentions, they don't exactly have to touch the wheel. They're not as important as they look. So I'm going to pick just at random. I grabbed a 1764. That work for everybody? I think that works for me. So I'm going to start off with this mark on the far side. All we have to do now is cut it out, and we have a wheel shim. Alright, one of the things I did when I originally made my shims is I just took a saw. You can use a hacksaw, whatever, and here, I can show you on this. At the top of these lobes is where I started the cut, and I brought it down to the edge of this lobe. Just cut it straight there, and all the way across, basically. Just keep cutting straight lines. So I'll actually use this to mark where I'm going to cut with the Dremel. And that's what it looks like when it's done. So we're going to have all the points. It's going to be exactly like this one. And the best part is it doesn't wobble at all. I thought there would be some off balance on the wheels because, you know, I just bonded two pieces together and hoped they settled flat, and they did. This is the step you're going to need your Dremel with a cutoff disc. Alright, and at this point you're going to want to use safety glasses because there's going to be flying plastic everywhere, and never hold it near where you're cutting. At this point you can just clean it up with a couple files, but that is basically a wheel spacer, and it really only took me a few minutes to make it. Now I'm going to use a flat file and a rounded file. I'm going to go ahead with the rounded file and open up these areas over here, even kind of hogging them a little bit. I've also used an angle grinder for the flap disc to do this, which is what I'm probably going to end up doing here in a minute. That already looks like that might work. This one needs to be filed a little more, and this one needs to be filed a little more. But this can just about go on the wheel. Let's see. How close are we? Huh! Hang on. Actually, it already fits on the wheel. So technically, I can stop here. But I will go ahead and I'll clean this up real nice anyway. But I'll do that off camera. Alright, it's just standard procedure for putting the wheel on at this point. Put your bearing back in, slide your hub adapter back on, put your axle nut back on. And when you get one of these trucks, you always want to replace the nuts that hold the wheels on. Because the ones that come with are junk. They're just junk. They fall off all the time. So, next step, take your wheel adapter, line it up with the holes. Then you can take your wheel. You can even put a bolt in here first to start off with. Just kind of get it in there, get it started. Now just lining up the holes. Put your first screw in. Once you get the first one started, the other ones just kind of fall into place. You will have to get longer screws, obviously, but I think it was like $1.89. Big deal. I went to Ace Hardware. They had them. Phillips heads too, so I didn't have to deal with the whole Allen wrench crap anymore, because I really just hate Allen wrenches. Alright, and right off the bat, this is one that has not been shimmed. You can see how far in the tread is on the fender well. And you can see out here that it is now outside the fender well on this side. And it actually does line up with the rear tire as well, instead of it being kind of far in over here. It looks really weird that the tread doesn't match up. So, look at that. You can see like almost no gap here, and then just, you know, I can almost get 2 fingers in here now. Turns really well. So now we won't get nearly as much fender rub. It'll still fender rub, but not as bad as this one. I mean, you cannot have any deflection at all before it is just eating that fender up. Alright, and here's the truck fully spaced. I love how it adds to the aggressive look of the vehicle now that, you know, the spacing matches the rear of the truck. I'm also hoping it will help stabilize it a little bit better, because these trucks are really, really bad about rolling over. So I'm hoping that will help out a lot. Look at that thing. That thing just looks tough. I think I've actually started to like this body. At first when I got it I wasn't going to keep it, but I think I have actually made something worth having out of it. Unfortunately, the rear window that they sell does not fit in the cab, so I'm going to have to figure out something else. Anyway, that's it for now. Hopefully you guys can find some plastic to make some wheel spacers. It doesn't have to be sheets of ABS. It could be anything. I mean, I've even gone as far as to find like a battery box for a power wheelchair and just cut some of the plastic out of that and stacked it up, just glue it, or you can even use solvent to bond it. If anyone's wondering what solvent I use, it's this stuff right here. I also got this at the same plastics place. It's Grip Smarter Adhesive Solutions Weld On. This is the very fast set. This is not glue. It's very watery, kind of like acetone. And I just went to Hobby Lobby and I got one of these applicators, little paint droppers, and just fill it up. You put it on one piece. I actually used the textured side on the inside, so both the textured sides are facing in. This side's where I applied it. Apply it on that, and then just flip it over and just smack it right on the other side. Once both sides are wet, it will kind of liquefy the plastic and squirt out a little bit. And then it's never coming apart. I don't care what you do. We're never ever getting this apart because now it's one block of plastic. So check that stuff out. You can get it on Amazon. If you're in the DFW area, go check out Regal Plastics and go pay a visit to their offcut bin. Just walk in and ask them, hey, y'all got any offcuts out back? And they'll just tell you to go take whatever you want. So I have tons of this stuff. Stay tuned for more. Give me a like if this video was informative at all, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.